Though there are times when I cannot see the path in front of me, I lose my way and feel so alone, like every friend I've ever known is gone, so far, far from home. Then I hear life call to me, there are choices to make. So how will it be? Are you gonna play safe, risk nothing at all? Or will you rise up with the colors of dawn, illuminating every step that you take? And I'm rising in love, I'm rising in love. This is my choice, this is my life, and I'm rising in love. And fear won't stop it, and the seasons won't change it. War can't kill it. I now claim it. Love, divine spirit God within me, your love flows throughout so naturally, raising my heart, singing my voice, speaking of love and calming the noise and generating every breath that I take. So I'm rising in love, I'm rising in love, I'm rising in love, I'm rising in love. This is my choice, this is my choice, this is my life, this is my life, and I'm rising in love, I'm rising in love. Whoa, and love is lifting us higher, 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 oh, higher, 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 oh, higher, 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 higher. I know that love is lifting us higher. Yes, it is, it is, it is. Higher. I know that love is lifting us higher each and every day, in every way. I know it is. You know it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, today I want to talk about purpose. It's one of my favorite conversations. I usually have it at the beginning of the year. I combine purpose along with intentions, because intention is a what you want to have happen. A purpose is why you want it to happen. Purpose is the sacred why of life. If you want to, after I'm done talking, write this down. I'll watch you. After I'm done talking, Google TED Talk on why. And that companies that do really well know why they're doing what they're doing. A person who does really well knows why they're doing what they are doing. The why of a thing gives us meaning. Meaning brings focus and power, which leads to success. Not just doing, but why do it. Brings meaning, focus, and with that focus is power. If you think about light, yeah, it lights up the room. But if you took all this light and focused it, we would have a laser. And it would cut through things. We don't want it to cut through you. But how many of you sometimes just want to cut through the stuff? How many of you just are just like, ugh, wouldn't it be great to just have the power to get through this stuff? Perhaps we need more meaning, which comes from why, which is our purpose. I want to give some illustrations on it. I do this when I talk about it at the first of the year, but why is really important to me. If I'm going to do something, buy something, strive for something, take a class, I want to know why I'm doing it. Some people take classes to meet other people. Some people take classes so that they can get wisdom or knowledge. Some people do it just because they're lifelong learners. The why lets you focus so that you feel fulfilled at the end of that class. Why do you want a relationship? Is it for security, partnership? Is it for companionship, good sex? I mean, really, I should have, even first service chuckled. Come on. You just heard your minister talk about good sex, and you're sitting there like, she didn't say it. That's not my minister. She's not saying it. Who are you? Wake up. But I mean it, because some people go into things, I want it, but why? If you don't know why, then you may be disappointed because I shouldn't say that. If you're not conscious of why, you may be disappointed because the why is not fulfilled. I'm very clear of why I wanted to get married again. And that was to have a satisfying and fulfilling relationship that would support both of us for the rest of our life. I'd gone through the other things. This was the new thing. Worked out better. I want to explain, or I shouldn't explain, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not going to explain it, but I know why I am a minister, and whenever I get off track, I remind myself of why I do this. I am a minister to use my insight and energy to inspire and empower others to live closer to their God, thereby bringing them into a greater harmony with others and their world. The end result that I want is harmony. So my focus is on how do I let everyone grow a little closer to their God. Because I believe that God and the realization of God brings heaven or harmony to earth. I'd like to introduce to you 4 students who have gone through and are still going through rigorous courses of study and testing and retesting to be ministers. And they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't do what they did. They wouldn't have shown up every Monday, taken retreats that were somewhat nebulous at times, taken courses they didn't want to take again. They wouldn't have done it if they didn't have a really solid why. So to explain to you why they signed up and said, I will serve my God and everyone who comes to me, to explain that, I would like to introduce to you 4 wonderful students. One, Karen Cleveland, is speaking at another center today, and 2 others are serving other centers in the Northwest. So we're out there. But for today, Dawn Beatty.
First, I really want to express my appreciation for each and every one of you, because without this community, I wouldn't be standing here. And so my credo: I commit to myself, to God, and to my community to live and minister through my values, to meet each person right where they are as I see the spark of the divine in you. And finally, the next one just skipped right out of my brain. But I do know that I am to be in community that's big enough for each and every person who wants to be part of it to be there, to take a stand and be a stand for safety so that each of us can experience and express our truth. One life, one love, one presence, moving through me to make a difference for good. Thank you.
Yay. And it looks to me like Brent Cunnings is up.
So here's the deal. I believe in love. Not any love, but I believe in the love of God, divine love. And I believe that we could heal the world if we let that divine love in. That's been my story, and now it's my glory, and it is my promise to God, and it's my call. Thank you.
I was reluctant, I was stubborn, and I was downright obstinate to this call. There was colorful language between me and my God. If you know me, you can imagine what I was saying. My mother's here, I won't say it. So on a wonderful Mystic Mind retreat, I wrote a statement, and it was the weekend that I finally said, "All right, God, get off my back." And it goes like this. Arise, my soul, and stand firm, that I may be counted in the court of thy goodness. Place in me an unquenchable thirst, that I may ever drink from the pool of thy stillness. Forgive my idea that I am ever separate from your holy presence. You fill all space. You fill all time. You fill me. Illuminate my heart with the lightness of your being. Speak through me, sweet Lord, that I may share your goodness. May I always shine your light and be a lamp unto the feet of those seeking your great countenance. Glorify thou me, that I may reflect your beauty and magnificence. Take my hesitation, my moments of retreat, and move me boldly and swiftly to the place of my service. Turn my eyes to thee, O Lord, as I look up. May I remember your mighty power and grace. Create in me, thy obedient servant, a place of yes. Breathe into me the fire of the Holy Spirit. Anoint my head with your brilliant flame, that I may preach the gospel and minister to thy flock. Rise, my soul, lift me ever upward, but come tarry a moment longer, that I may remember the sweet kiss of your unfailing love. I am yours completely. Thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce to you Andrea Weatherhead.
Good morning. Is this on? I spoke my credo yesterday, and you can see it online on YouTube. This morning, I just want to say that I am here so that I can be an epicenter of love, wisdom, humor, levity, peace, harmony. The way this teaching affected me in my 30s, I would like to be the gateway where God can express through me to introduce these teachings to as many people as I can speak to, using the gift I've been given, that all of us have been given, of transmitting love. So I really appreciate the fact that I've had the opportunity to be in this teaching as long as I have, and I look forward to being able to shed the light around the world. Thank you.
So yesterday was really powerful, and it was powerful because seven people gave their reasons for being in their graduation and for being ministers, for going through the process that wasn't easy. And I got to share that it took a lot of commitment because sometimes you just didn't feel like showing up at class. So they're committed to their process so that they can be committed to all that come before them. It's a gift to us. All I could think of when it was over is the world's a better place because of you guys. The world is a better place because of what you've done. Thank you very much. So back to purpose. Why do I want to talk about it besides these wonderful people and knowing that they had to have a purpose? And I have a purpose, but what's that have to do with you? And I always want to bring it back to you. There are 3 reasons why I want to talk about it. The first one's simple. One of the books that we had as a book of the month for last month was by Edwin Gaines and the 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. And one of the laws is you need to have a purpose. When you have a purpose, the universe shows up to support you in that purpose. Without a purpose, we are like dilettantes. We do a lot of stuff, but there's no focus, therefore no energy and power, and no meaning. If you don't know your purpose, what Edwin suggests that you do is that you support another person or an organization that has a purpose. And in so doing, you start to vibrate at purpose level and your own purpose can emerge. The second reason that I want to share this is because as we focus on a higher idea or ideal than just fixing things or getting by or seeing what shows up, life seems to get better. Now, sometimes we're about fixing things because that's human nature. We can see what needs to be fixed. I mean, we're smart. And we can see it out there, what they should fix. And we also see what we should fix. And so we go about fixing things. Or sometimes we're not even about fixing things. We don't search it out. We just show up and handle what's in front of us. And I call it accidental living. There was a movie out a long time ago. I don't remember much about it except it was The Accidental Tourist. There's a man who hated traveling. But all of a sudden he got a job as a tourist writer. He would write about places to go to. So he just accidentally started traveling. An accidental tourist. And I think sometimes we live accidental lives. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. That's because there is no purpose, meaning, focus, and power. This is what Carl Jung said. Most people come to me with an insurmountable problem. However, what happened was through our work together, they discovered something more important than the problem. And the problem lost its power and went away. If you have a higher ideal, a purpose, problems lose their pull. It's just not that important. I honestly think that we have to use our energy somewhere. We have to be doing something, and we're either doing something that really pulls us forward, or we're just doing stuff. How many of you know people that just do stuff? You know, I work so hard and they just do stuff. There's no end result, but they were doing stuff. No, I'm sure that you've never done that recently, but how many of you in your past just did stuff? Another reason to have a purpose. The third reason to have a purpose is the world will always be saying, be successful. The world will always say that. Our personality, our conditioned self will say, be successful. Advertising agencies and people that want to sell us things really feed into that. If you do this, you'll be successful, or at least you'll look that way. You'll seem successful. If you can't be successful, seem successful, look successful. Buy this and people will think you're successful. How many of you feel the pull sometimes? Even if it's not material, it's be a successful parent. Be a successful friend. We got to be better at it. How many of you have this urge to be better all the time? Isn't it exhausting? The soul, or the higher self, wants meaning and a life purpose. The soul says, I want to feel fulfilled. The Buddha said, your work is to discover your work, and then with all your heart, give yourself to it. So that is what we're about. Just something's happening up over there. You know, I was just saying, what was really funny is that we had family members come and support the people that we're acknowledging today, and Brent almost brought in his dog. You know, so this is his significant family member. So I just thought, is that him going, oh? So I just thought I'd check. Oh, I didn't get to say hi to Brent. All right, so now have I convinced you that it would be great to have a purpose? Oh, cool. Then let me tell you about a person who studied purpose. And that was Viktor Frankl, Dr. Viktor Frankl. He wrote a book that is amazing. Please have it in your library. And I think if I have more than one copy, one of them will go into the Lending Easy library that we're creating out here. And that book is called Man's Search for Meaning. What's interesting about Man's Search for Meaning is that he wrote it while he was in Auschwitz. He was there as a prisoner for 3 years. And what he found is, as he was watching all these people, the people who had a purpose for living, had a meaning for staying alive, they stayed alive. Now, it wasn't the optimistic ones. It wasn't the, oh, we'll get out of here anytime. It was the ones who had a reason to get up and a reason to stay alive. They were the ones that succeeded at staying alive more than other people. And so that's why the whole idea of man's search for meaning, when people had meaning, there was a power in them that came up that was a survival mechanism. He wrote the book in form after he left, but he wrote the book in heart while he was still there. Not long after, well, in the 50s, so I guess it was long after that. But you know, it's all relative. He attended a seminar, a conference for young up-and-coming CEOs, people who might be the Young Presidents Club or something like that. And what he noticed about them is that even though they were successful, they were not satisfied. They were still hungry and acted like that. They were still edgy. They were not content. They were not happy. They were not jovial. They were at the top of their rung in their business, and yet there was something about them that still seemed hungry. So this is what he did. He took a chalkboard and he created 2 lines. We'll see them now. He created 2 lines. Horizontally, he put success and failure. Let's talk about that for a moment. He said, people strive to be successful and they strive not to fail. Most of your actions are to succeed or at least not to fail. I could go into a whole riff about this because it's part of self-mastery. That a lot of times we don't try new things because we don't want to fail. We don't want to look bad. And probably those gentlemen did too. How many of you know that sometimes you just don't play because you won't do it right the first time? How many are honest enough to say that? What he said is that most of the world focuses on success, or at least the elimination of failure, and sometimes that means don't try anything you can't be good at. He said what we should focus on is the vertical line of fulfillment versus depression. He said too many people are not happy, they don't have fulfillment, they have no meaning, and they are depressed. And I'm bringing this up because what I have read recently, and I'm just always struck by it, and I don't read it just once, I read it in so many places, is that the population of the United States right now, if asked if they were depressed, 60% say yes. Now think of the people who don't want to admit it. 60% of our population is depressed? Let's talk fulfillment. Since it's the opposite of success, according to Viktor Frankl. So to help these young CEOs and presidents of companies, he read 3 letters. And they were filled with contentment, satisfaction, fulfillment, a sense of completion, a sense of deep okayness with their soul. And he said, who do you think wrote these? And they're all like, oh, presidents and CEOs of bigger companies. People who have, they've just made a major acquisition. He said, no, these 3 letters were written by 3 men on death row. And that got their attention. It's like, how could those people be so satisfied? Because the soul wants what the soul wants. The heart wants what the heart wants. And what the heart wants is a sense of meaning. And you can find meaning anywhere. It can be something that you create within yourself and then move towards. Meaning gives focus. Focus gives power. So we'll go with the next slide that, thank you very much, got corrected. So if you talk to anybody first service, no, it wasn't wrong. So let's just look at people who are depressed and a success and depressed, they get burned out. They're successful, but they're depressed. And that is what's called midlife crisis. Or, wow, what am I doing with myself? Burnout. Sometimes people think that they can just buy their way out of it, that they shouldn't be there. One of my longtime friends, Bo Lazoff, said it was easier for him to work with people in prisons because he had a prison ashram ministry. He said it was easier for him to work with people in prisons because at least they had a reason to be depressed. He said what's really hard is to work with rich people because they're depressed and they have no reason, which makes them more depressed. Viktor Frankl called failure and depression rust out. He just made that up. Makes sense to me, burnout, rust out. But let's go up to the top. That's where it gets interesting. Success and fulfillment is called abundance. I want you to have an abundant life. I have come that you might have life and you have it more abundantly. If I was going to say where I want to use my energy and inspiration to inspire and empower you or anyone else, it would be for that section right there, abundance. Yes, I want you to be successful and your marriage, in your family, in your work, in your community, in your neighborhood. I want you to be successful, but not without being fulfilled. That you could have that sense of abundant life. Then, oh, look over there though. You can be a failure and still be content. as long as you have a sense of fulfillment. Now, how many of you would be okay with contentment? I mean, I think I'd be happy as a little clam with contentment. Sounds good to me, because there's days I haven't been. I'd love contentment. Oh, how many are you saying to yourself, if I'm content, I won't strive to be successful? Yeah, I knew there were some of you in here. And it was kind of on this side, too. It's like, I could hear you. Contentment does not mean you won't be successful. It means that in the process of being successful, you can be content. So how do we get there? How do you find that sense of fulfillment? Viktor Frankl gave us 3 methods to do so. The first one is the first ability to be fulfilled, to have meaning, is your ability to change one's attitude when things change. We can't control what happens. We can control our attitude. That's what he noticed in those people around him. They were in a concentration camp, and they couldn't change that fact. They changed their attitude. Viktor Frankl himself said that what he wanted to do every single day was be the best Viktor Frankl he could be, no matter the circumstances. That's a shift in attitude. That's not they shouldn't have done that, they shouldn't have done that, I hate that. Do you see that gave him a sense of focus, meaning, and purpose? The next one is loving relationships. He noticed that people that got along with people lived longer. If you have a commitment to your family, your friends, your significant others, your community, there's more of a sense of fulfillment. He wanted to be the best Viktor Frankl he could be, because even though he'd been separated from his wife, his hope was that when they got out, they could be back together, and he wanted to come back to her whole. So yes, I want to be the best I can be, and I want to do that for my wife. As it turns out, she didn't get out. But the shift that he made by keeping that made him a superstar. And the waking up of humanity. The last thing is having meaningful work or a purpose. Now, that he did not mean, and I do not mean, have a meaningful job, but have an outlet where you are making the world a better place. He would go around and see how he could comfort others that were sharing this experience with him. To find that meaning, that purpose, that sense of doing something, whether it's an avocation or a vocation. Some people find their purpose in an avocation. I know people that work for animal shelters and animal rescues. That's not their day job, but it's their avocation which gives them purpose, and everything else supports them so they can do their purpose. The way to find that purpose is through something like a retreat, to be still, to be calm, to be sometimes a guided meditation. In self-mastery and in our last Mystic Mind retreat that was in Morocco, people went back and recalled what they suited up for, why they incarnated. And no one said, I incarnated so that I could make this much money and have this kind of wealth. Nobody said, I incarnated so that I could be a glamorous rock star. Nobody said that. Nobody suited up for that. They did suit up to express something that their soul wanted to express. And what was interesting is I know that they weren't making it up, because I watched the surprise on their face when they said it. You always know that it's not you when you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? And you can also do it a little bit easier, and that is to see what you naturally do, and you're so good at it that you don't even pay attention to it. It's almost invisible to you. So that's the incarnated part. And then you see where you can apply it to something that is important to you that's happening in the world. So it's another axis. The axis is, what do I do well? And where do I want to apply it on this huge horizon of things that could be contributed to? It might be to animals or to foster children or whatever. But you find that axis. And then it becomes so clear. So what is it that you're really good at? I was talking about Karen, one of Jerry's spouses, and I said, Karen, you cook, but I think what you really are is you combine things and create things. She's a combiner creator. I just got this card from Al Parisi. Al is an events putter-oner. Al just wants to do a party. He's been trying to do parties for years. You know what he's doing now? He is putting together feasts for different communities around the city so that they can come together and create community. His first feast will be on Thanksgiving Day, where a transitional housing group will meet with one of the tribes and a bunch of other organizations that have no place to go. They're doing it Golden Gardens. Everybody will set up the table. Everybody will cook. Everybody will clean up. He's putting together a feast that will create community because that's what he does so well. And he always thought that more people that are of different groupings should come together. Do you see how what he does met a need? And because he's found his purpose, he's being supported by the city council and county governments. Because when you have purpose and meaning, you have focus and power, and all that it takes to support that starts to show up. This will be his vocation and his avocation, but sometimes avocations show up just because, I've done all this, now what's my life about? Instead of being depressed, some people become fulfilled by having all that they've acquired and putting it for a purpose greater than themselves. I don't know if you saw it, but I saw a newspaper article about Michael Jordan with tears coming down his face because he had opened one of his first planned clinics for free for all uninsured people in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. One of the first. All the money he has doesn't make a difference. He wants to give back to his community. So it's a totally free clinic. Bon Jovi just gave $500,000 to train dogs to be support animals for veterans with PTSD. All of that money is now put into a purpose. And it seems like it's all about money. Like, if I got money, if I finally get money, I can do something. No, we can do something now. Now. A woman named Kayla Denny took over an animal shelter because she thought that too many animals were being killed in her city. They were. It was a 100% kill rate. Animals went in and animals went out a different way. She took it over, and in a year, took the kill rate from 100% to 0%. No animals are killed in her city anymore because she thought that was what she wanted to do. That's crazy good. But you see, meaning, purpose, power. 2 young sisters found out that too many of their friends didn't have bedtime stories. So they do a Facebook Live group where anybody can call in or get in on Facebook, and they read bedtime stories to the children whose parents are working or not really up to being with them at night. So somebody reads a bedtime story to them. See, we can get crazy and say, I have to have the money or I have to have a great idea. No, What's your skill? Theirs was reading. What wasn't happening? Children were going to bed without stories. What's your skill? My love of animals and my ability to problem solve. What's happening? Too many animals are killed. When you find that sweet spot, you found your purpose. And when you find your purpose, things start falling into place. For the universe is waiting for us to fulfill that. My sister had a purpose, which was to bring her family together. She came up with that because she had sort of removed herself from her family for so long. I think for at least 20 years, we didn't know where she was. And she got remarried, and she became a Mormon, and families became very important, and she started reaching out. And she didn't just reach out to her immediate family. She reached out to everybody that was ever, even, as far as she could go, in all directions she reached out. And she created a Facebook group for us. And oh, wow, I had no idea they had children. I mean, it's like amazing what she did. I'm so grateful she did it. What she took was her ability to use social media and her ability to connect and to research and find people for the purpose of bringing a family back together. And maybe it was also my prayer, because my prayer for years has been, my intention, I should say, for years was to have a better relationship with my sisters. And she was going to be the hardest because we didn't even know where she was. But luckily, she connected, and we could talk about horses and young times. And I'm grateful she did it before she died. There's not too late to fulfill something. All the excuses you have are just our conditioned self afraid of our divine power, afraid of who we really are. If you listen, you'll know your skill and you'll know where to use it. And that will bring heaven and harmony to your life, which is my ambition for you. And so I speak my word that it is the Spirit of God that is the divine teacher, the Spirit of sweetness, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of wisdom, speaks to each and every person in this room. Just highlighting what we do naturally, what comes naturally, so that we may bring that natural talent and that natural skill, that superpower into the world in a way that will be meaningful to us, so that we may live a life of meaning, of purpose, and bring great power into and through us to be a revealer of heaven on earth. There is no more. There's just no more excuse for us not to rise up. We must stop waiting for someone or something to save us, whether it's Jesus or a new president. Get the heck over it. We are the chosen ones. We are the ones that have been called. And I hope, like Andrea and Brent and Jerry and Dawn and Karen and Bernie and Matthew, I hope that we answer that call. For many are called and few choose in, but let it be us this day. Let us be used for purposes so much greater than ourselves, and let us know the power of heaven in us that lets us fulfill that mission. Hallelujah, and so it is.